set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tavon Austin.
The Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth.
It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season.
And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back into the Country Roads webcast here for another live stream, June 2nd edition, and we've got news in both sports to talk about. Been a while since we've had a multi-sport update, but yet again, we've been waiting on it, waiting for that more transfer portal movement for WVU in the basketball side. We figured that it would heat up with a lot of guys that, didn't get the results that they wanted when they went to test the draft waters, now coming back that are in the portal. A lot more players that are available now, players getting waivers. And one of those players that's received a waiver is a potential transfer target for WVU Hoops. So we do have a new target to talk about on that side of things. We'll talk about that on the tail end of the show. But first, in the front half here, we got to continue talking some WVU football recruiting updates, both 2026 and future recruiting, as of course it is camp season at WVU. We talked about it in yesterday's stream. We went over the list of a lot of guys that'll be at these upcoming camps. West Virginia held one yesterday, and we already know of multiple offers that have gone out since that camp. So we're going to talk about each of those guys that was offered. And then another thing that we've been trying to report on here is upcoming visitors. We know we're going to have a lot of visitors coming through in the month of June, and we have a great list that was put together by Skylar Callahan over at WVUSI that I'm going to share with you guys of all those upcoming visitors that are coming here throughout the summer, visiting WVU, some recruits that are coming in. So front half of the show, WVU football recruiting update. Back half of the show, we'll talk about a new WVU basketball, transfer portal target. So that's kind of what's on the docket for today's show. Appreciate you guys that are tuned in here live, whether you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. Those of you that are on Facebook or Twitch, be sure to come over to the Country Roads webcast YouTube channel, subscribe here so you can get the pre-recorded videos, podcast episodes, stay up to date on the WVU basketball transfer portal news, WVU football recruiting news, in addition to roster news for both sports and all kinds of other coverage we provide there on the YouTube side, which if you are someone that's there on that YouTube side, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Help us out with that crazy YouTube algorithm. Help this video find more Mountaineer fans like yourself. And you can do that whether you're watching live or after the fact on a playback. And if you are one of those Mountaineer fans that hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all things WVU basketball and WVU football. If you guys that are in here live got any questions, comments, throw them in the chat. I'll try to get to some of those before I wrap up. Can't be with you guys too long. Do got to jet off to work here in a little bit, but did want to come and get these updates in really quickly. And of course, got to shout out WVU baseball as well. What a job they're doing. Regional champions yet again, back-to-back seasons. We'll find out who they play in the Super Regional. LSU and Little Rock play tonight at 9 p.m., the day that I'm doing this stream. Whoever wins that game will determine who WVU plays. If LSU wins, it's not going to be in Morgantown, but if Little Rock wins, the Super Regional could be in Morgantown. Wouldn't that be insane? So I think we're definitely all probably cheering for Little Rock, but shout out to the WVU baseball team as well. Can't forget that. So with no further ado, let's get to the WVU football recruiting updates here, talk a little bit about this. Some of the guys that came from these camps, of course, have already received offers. A couple, I think, are scholarship related for future classes, and then one a potential 2026 edition that right now I think stands as a PWO offer only, but still I think could be a talented player nonetheless. We've had some PWOs come in the past and make impacts. So let's start here. Shout out to Jeff Cobb on social media for sharing these here. And shout out to my friend Matthew, Mountaineers Headline, for sending me some of the tweets of the individual guys that shared that they were offered as well, which I'll pull up momentarily. But these are the three we're going to talk about that were offered following yesterday's camp. Like I said, two guys for the future, one a defensive back in the 2027 class and one a receiver in the 2027 class. So those were Demon Scott, defensive back out of Florida. They're Rockledge High School in Melbourne, Florida, to be exact, and wide receiver Trey Haddad out of St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland, Ohio. And then the 2026 recruit is a linebacker, Caden Carter, out of Walsh Jesuit High School in Ohio. He is a PWO, is what we know about his offer. So let's pull up each one of these guys here sharing this information about their offer to WVU, and then we will see if we can't pull up their profiles. The 2027 guys probably aren't rated yet, with Carter being a preferred walk-on. He may not be rated either, but at least we can get a little bit of their size and stature and such. So let's start with Caden Carter, since he will be a potential 2026 edition if he decides to commit to WVU, which I think we got a good chance, but it's interesting, and I'll show you why here momentarily. But he says here on social media, after a great camp and a great conversation with Coach Zach Alley, I'm blessed to receive a PWO offer from West Virginia University. So preferred walk-on offer already for Caden Carter in this 2026 class, which West Virginia is trying to build as we continue to try and show you guys recruiting updates for that. A potential PWO edition could be Caden Carter, and we'll keep an eye on that one. But the plus side of this is he is a linebacker. So even if it is only a PWO offer, the fact that Coach Zach Alley, who coaches the linebackers in addition to being the defensive coordinator, feels like he's talented enough to, come to WVU. I think that speaks pretty highly of him because Coach Zach Alley does work with the linebackers. So a little bit on Caden Carter, though, the PWO offer here from this 2026 class. Like we said, he is from Walt Jesuit High School there in Stowe, Ohio, 6'2", 217. Not bad size there, coming in right around 220, 6'2". But what's interesting here is when you look, Eastern Michigan, Bowling Green, Akron, Cornell, Navy have all offered him scholarships. West Virginia has a PWO offer out to him. So I guess if, you're Mr. Carter here, you kind of have to decide, do I want to go to, a more group of five school here, like a Eastern Michigan, Boston College, Akron, where maybe I'll, have a quicker path to playing time and I'll have, the full scholarship offer? Or do I want to go to a power conference school like WVU where I feel like I can, be a player there and make plays and play at that level, but might have to prove myself, might take a little bit longer to get on the field. But, if you want to bet on yourself, maybe that's what you do. You go with the PWO offer from WVU because, in today's day and age with NIL, you're still probably going to get enough money to cover, most of your tuition anyway, even if with the PWO offer. Just depends on, are you confident enough in your abilities that you'll find your way into earning, the full scholarship one day and making your way onto the field versus, a quicker and, probably a little bit more easier path, maybe a little bit more of a sure thing, maybe with one of these group of five schools. So we'll see what he decides to do in the future, but we'll keep our eyes on Caden Carter, who now has a PWO offer from West Virginia following yesterday's camp there in Morgantown as these summer camps continue. And then we also had, let's see, who else did we have here? Demon Scott. Let's talk a little bit about Demon Scott because I think this one's interesting because from what I understand, he actually didn't really get to participate in the camp fully. He suffered an injury recently, but apparently West Virginia, impressed with what they've seen on film with him and everything already enough to go ahead and offer him a scholarship anyway. He's listed as a cornerback on one side, a safety on the other, so we'll just call him a defensive back for now. Don't know which West Virginia is targeting him for, but certainly they're somewhere in the secondary. He put out on social media here, beyond blessed to receive an offer from West Virginia, tagging Coach Rod, tagging Coach Gabe Franklin. And there you see, of course, the graphic that he shared on his social media. And if we pull up a little bit about Demon Scott here, see if we pull him up on Rivals, which both these guys we're about to talk about now are recruits for 2027. So not this upcoming recruiting class, but it would be the next one after that. So, a lot of these guys aren't yet rated by the national sites yet, since they're still kind of working on this 2026 class. So that we don't have any rating for these guys. But what we can see is 6'2", 165. Rivals lists him as a cornerback. Would be a nice rangy, lengthy corner if he does end up playing there. But you look already at his offer list, and you can see why West Virginia jumped on him already, despite him not really being able to fully participate in the camp. Florida State has offered him. Miami has offered him. Spit has offered him, and Marshall and WVU have already offered him here early in the 2027 cycle. So West Virginia trying to get in for Demon Scott, the defensive back there out of Florida. And I say defensive back because you see him listed as a cornerback there on Rivals. But if we go here to 247, they list him as a safety. So, could potentially play either one. We'll see what happens when he makes it to college. And hopefully that's what the Mountaineers, now that he has an offer out, we'll see what happens. Never too early to commit. West Virginia already has one commit in that 2027 class, albeit a little bit further out. And he's a really talented one in the running back Armand Hill. But Desmond Scott's a safety here on 247. Like we said, 6'2", 165 out of Rockledge High School in Rockledge, Florida. Not yet rated, but does have some really good offers from some Power 5 programs there. So Demon Scott gets an offer after the camp. And the last offer that we want to talk about following the camp, and then I want to talk a little bit about upcoming visitors here throughout the summer, which we've been continuing to try and cover. A lot of these we've already covered, but we got a full list of 30-plus names that are going to be visiting WVU. But before we do that and get to that visit update, let's talk a little bit more about these camp updates, because we do have another scholarship offer that went out, and this one's to a receiver, which is interesting. After a great camp and conversation with Coach Ryan Garrett, I am blessed to receive an offer to play football at WVU, says Trey Haddad, who announced this on social media following yesterday's camp as well. So he gets an offer. So let's take a look now at Mr. Haddad here, pull up his recruiting profile on both these pages, Rivals and 247. Like I said, 2027 wide receiver, 6 foot 170. So seemingly probably like a slot type. Must have showcased some good speed and athleticism, probably in the 40 times there at the camp, if I had to guess. Would be one thing that probably stood out for him to pull the offer here. Looks like the only offer he has currently here. So West Virginia getting in on him early. We'll see if others follow suit. Of course, recruited by receivers coach Ryan Garrett there. And then we'll pull up his 247 profile. Not rated on either site, I do believe. But, just to keep it even, which 247 lists him a little bit bigger there at 6'1", 180. So, being a 2027 class guy, still has room to grow, maybe could grow into an outside receiver when you look at the frame that 247 has him listed at. If he gets to 6'2", 6'3", you could potentially play him on the outside, and he definitely has the ability to do that. It's going to be a guy that's going into his junior season in high school in the fall, from Ohio. So, a guy that's close here. He has been contacted by Buffalo and Cincinnati, it looks like, but right now West Virginia the only offer for Trey Haddad, who picks up one following WVU's camp. So that's what I had there as far as the camp updates. Wanted to continue to cover that after, of course, that took place yesterday, and I kind of previewed it. They'll have another one, I think, next week, I believe, and we'll have a couple more throughout the summer, so we'll continue to report on those camps when they happen, as offers go out after those and such. But West Virginia also has, plenty of targets that are going to be visiting over the summer, guys in the 2026 class and beyond. A lot of 2026 guys here we're going to highlight. And let's pull up this list here. Shout out to Skylar Callahan over on SIWVU. The 33 confirmed recruits to take official visit in June. So this is just ones that are going to be coming in throughout this month, guys. So let's talk a little bit about each of these. June 3rd through the 5th, so coming up here in short order. Defensive back Dana Greenhow will be visiting WVU. June 6th through June 8th, we get a lot of guys that are committed visiting the Mountaineers, which I like this because we got QB Jyron Hewley, tight end Sam Hamilton, linebacker Cam Bam Bam Dwyer, and safety Taj Powell, who are all already committed to the Mountaineers, mixed in with a ton of other visitors here. And so, those are guys that can maybe help convince them. You can try and help them, use them as a recruiting piece as well, in addition to your staff, when you get these guys on campus here in the coming week. June 6th through June 8th, we'll have not only those names I just mentioned, which are already a part of the 2026 recruiting class, but we'll have all of these guys coming in. Tight end Tilden Riley, offensive lineman Logan Anthony, offensive lineman Javari Lucas, offensive lineman Cam Miller, offensive lineman Rhett Morris, offensive lineman Denylon Taylor. That's one we've reported on previously. Offensive lineman Mason Wilhelm. We'll see if he still takes this trip. He did commit to North Carolina. I did see that on social media. We'll see. Sometimes guys still will take those visits. Hopefully, if he does, you always have the opportunity to flip. We got this thing still, 6 more months of this left, till early signing day in December. So he is still scheduled from June 6th to June 8th for now. Defensive lineman Noah Tischendorf, who we talked about on the last stream we did yesterday. He is a Oregon State commit currently. West Virginia is working on high-rated edge rusher, one of the top 10 players in the state of Oregon. Would be a big pickup. He'll be visiting June 6th to June 8th. As will cornerback LaRon Dews, brother of Tyshawn Dews, super high-rated athlete in there in the class as well. We've talked about him previously. West Virginia is in his finalists. You have another defensive back in Hakeem Satterwhite that'll be visiting, defensive back David Coleman, defensive back Miles Catchery, athlete Samson Gash, who we covered in the past year as well, athlete Vincent Smith, and punter Jimmy Gregg. Got to have someone to come in, follow up Ollie Straw, right? Then on June 10th, we'll have defensive back Chance Collins in. June 13th through June 15th, we get a couple more here. This is where we have the other commits that we have visiting, that being defensive back Emery Snyder, and my personal favorite commit thus far in the 2026 class, running back Jet Walker out of Texas. You guys have heard me rave about him. I think he's going to shoot up the recruiting rankings as he goes through his senior season. But June 13th through June 15th, we'll have not only those two who are already committed in the class, but we'll also have wide receiver Zachary Washington, tight end Tyler Ruxer, who we talked about last stream. He's going to be committing July 7th with his teammate there, Jet Goldsberry. Tight end Tyler Ruxer, a high-rated tight end there in that class, are really one of the higher-rated players in the state of Indiana, as West Virginia's after a couple of those with tight end Tyler Ruxer and defensive back Jet Goldsberry, who's a high-rated athlete in the class. They'll be announcing their commitment on July 7th, but Tyler Ruxer will be visiting WVU on that June 13th through June 15th window. We'll also have offensive lineman Camden Goforth in, offensive lineman Adrian Hamilton, offensive lineman Nathan Zapatelli, defensive lineman Brock Heisler, safety Aaron Edwards, the JUCO one that we talked about in the previous stream that we did yesterday, has West Virginia as one of his finalists. I believe they're in the top 4 there for Mr. Edwards. Then we have a few athletes here. They are Christian Lawrence, Javonte Smith, Ramar Trapeau, and I believe that's it. Yeah, that's all the 33 names that are going to be visiting here through June, and not only through June, but through these first, couple of weeks, with them wrapping up June 13th through 15th. So here over the next couple of weeks, West Virginia has, 1, 2, 3, 4 different windows where they're going to have multiple recruits in here in this 2026 class. They're looking to continue to build and add to those names that we already have committed, which we highlighted there as well, that are also going to be coming in, visiting with some of these guys that they're hoping to get commit in the near future. So that's what I had for the football side of this thing. Wanted to talk a little bit about those recruiting updates, both following the camp, of course, a few guys getting offers, and then just let you guys know over the next couple of weeks, the guys that are going to be taking official visits. So, once all those guys make it, if all those guys on that list make it, like we said, we know of at least one that's committed elsewhere now. We'll see if he still makes his visit. But what do we always say here on the CRW? If a recruit or a transfer portal makes it to WVU on an official visit, putting them on commitment watch, because that's a lot of times how West Virginia gets these guys, man. Once they get them to Morgantown, they start to realize, oh, wow, this place is special. There's a lot of good stuff about this place that I didn't realize before, so on and so forth. So, if those guys make it, we're going to keep an eye on all those names here throughout the month of June. West Virginia could be getting several commitments. If any of these guys do choose to commit to the Mountaineers, we'll provide it in a future recruiting update here on the channel, where we'll talk more in depth about them, probably share some of their highlights, their rankings, all of that good stuff. But those are names you can keep an eye on as they'll be visiting WVU as they continue to try and build this 2026 class, which I think will be a pretty successful one. So with that being said, that kind of wraps up what I want to talk about on the football side. Let's switch gears, talk basketball here in the last portion of the show, because we do have a portal update to talk about there on the basketball side. Been a little bit quiet. We've been waiting to see how they're going to round out this roster. We know they're probably going to add another, 3 to 4 players or so. We'll see what happens, but there's more guys they can target now. So there's, that thing is opening up, and West Virginia is doing just that. And one guy that they have potentially been in contact with, of course, is one guy that we're going to talk about here, and that is Ryan Cornish, a guard from Dartmouth. And this is actually a really talented guy, Ryan Cornish. So let's pull up here a little bit about him and why it's interesting that, a lot of these guys that are coming in late in the game, like I talked about, they're guys that maybe went through the draft process, didn't get the results they wanted, and are coming back in, and they're still in the portal, or guys that are getting waivers. And in West Virginia's case, this is a guy that's receiving a waiver to play this season. So he just entered the portal recently, and after that had his waiver for an additional year of eligibility approved by the NCAA and is available in the transfer portal, as Kevin Sweeney reported here on social media. First team all Ivy League, averaged 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, which will pull up his numbers momentarily there. So has an extra year of eligibility due to a waiver, and so he's using that to transfer to another school. And after having a really solid year, why not? As you look here, we'll pull up his profile on ESPN. So good size for a guard at 6'4", 170 pounds. He's originally from Maryland, so, not too far from his home there, be a borderline state guy. But 17 points, 5 rebounds for a guard, 3 assists, and shot 41% from the field there at Dartmouth. We look here at his numbers across the whole season in 37% from three. And man, I don't know what happened the year prior. He was 30+% most years. Must have been dealing with an injury or something the year prior for his numbers to dip that much. But it's another guy that's, getting close to that 40% 3-point range. How many of these guys West Virginia have on the roster now? A handful, if they could potentially get Ryan Cornish, that is, of course. But it would be another great addition. West Virginia continues to target good shooters, and not only is he a good shooter, he's a good scorer as well. Look at some of the other numbers, 75% on the free throw percentage. We talked about the 5 rebounds and 3 assists, but over 1 steal per game. We know defense is going to be the key cog in a Ross Hodge system. 3 turnovers per game, not exactly what you want there, the 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, but always something that could be cleaned up still yet. But the 17 points per game, you'll take that any day. So it seemed like one of the better players in the Ivy League, right? And I think you definitely have that confirmed here on social media. Actually, there was a list that was put out of the top players in the Ivy League from college basketball this past season. You can see who's a top 10 Ivy League player right there, Ryan Cornish, a guard that I'm sure multiple programs are after. So, probably going to be stiff competition, but as West Virginia looks to round out their roster, and we know one thing that they need a reserve big man. We've also talked about them needing a reserve guard as well. And man, that would be a really good reserve guard to add right there to the mix. Ryan Cornish, someone that could really fill it up for you coming off the bench. We'll see how West Virginia rounds out this roster, but that would be a really big pickup. Don't sleep on him coming from the Ivy League, coming from Dartmouth. Those numbers are definitely nothing to, thumb your nose up at. I think that Ryan Cornish looks like a really talented player. Would love to see West Virginia be able to add him. So we'll keep an eye on him, and any other potential targets that pop up will bring them to you in future WVU basketball transfer portal updates, because those are going to continue to come here hot and heavy as they round out that roster for Ross Hodge's first season. And speaking of rounding out the roster, the new football players are enrolling, so they should be updating the official university roster on the football side soon. So I'll have some roster updates out for you guys in the near future there as well, which probably will be in pre-recorded fashion on the YouTube side. So those of you that watch these live streams on Facebook and Twitch, be sure to come over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. And those of you that watch on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, help us out, whether you watch live or on the playback. I know this one's early in the morning. Do got to jet off to work in a bit, so I had to get to it when I could. Some of you guys may watch this after the fact on a playback. Appreciate that as well. And if you didn't get a chance to chat live and you're watching that after the fact, throw some thoughts in the comments. Always appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the CRW community throughout Mountaineer Nation. And lastly, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Just wanted to one more time highlight the baseball team. Just incredible run that they're on right now over the past few seasons. And John Antonic, of course, leave it to him, the great WVU historian there, to sum it up perfectly on social media, saying over the last 3 years, WVU baseball is now 124-58 with 3 NCAA bids and now 2 super regional appearances, back-to-back regional championships now. Last year and this year over 44 wins. Incredible first season for Steve Sabins, and shout out to WVU baseball for making it to the Super Regional, and hope they keep it rolling all the way to the College World Series. We'll see what happens, but we'll continue to give them their flowers because they certainly deserve it here. Just like we'll continue to cover these WVU football recruiting updates. Got more camps throughout the summer, got a ton of visitors as we just talked about, and WVU basketball portal updates as they'll continue to round out that roster as well. So keep it locked here, whether you watch live on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, or listen on the audio side as well. We appreciate that, but you can find us on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, you name it. And if you listen there, leave us a rating. That helps us out on that side of things. Lastly, let me get to the couple of people we had here live. That's my guy, Tosh Miller, a channel member here. Always appreciate you, Tosh. He says, hit that like button. Yeah, appreciate that reminder, guys. Live or on the playback, that helps us out a ton with that YouTube algorithm. It really does. Drumwolf62, loyal Mountaineer here, always loyal to tune in and chime in as well, says, afternoon, Mountaineers. How about the baseball team? What a great game last night. Very excited for the football and basketball seasons. Well said, and right on cue with what we just talked about, Drumwolf for sure. And then Jay McClanahan popping in. Appreciate you as always, Jay. Says, let's go Mountaineers. And hey, couldn't have summed it up any better myself. That's a perfect way to end this one, guys. Appreciate you all that popped this one live. Appreciate you guys that watch this one on the playback as well. Either way, think you get some good WVU football recruiting updates as we continue to try and work on that 2026 class, and also look to the future here with a lot of these 2027 and 2028 prospects coming in camps that are going to be getting offers here in the summer months here throughout the month of June, and we'll also have plenty of visitors, so maybe we'll have some more commitments to talk about on the WVU football recruiting side of things, as well as the WVU basketball transfer portal side of things. Think we'll be bringing in some commitments there in the near future as well. So looking forward to all of those things and continuing to cover it as we lead up to Ross Hodges' debut season and the start of the Rich Rod 2.0 era, and we'll keep you informed on the way there here on the CRW. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.